Most teachers are already supporting language learning. They just don't realise they're doing it. And I think this is really important because when we make these small classroom moves visible, we can start to use them more intentionally. And that's when they become really powerful, especially for learners who are working in a language that isn't their first. My name's Jane Maria Harding de Rosa from Enriching English Language Teaching. Let me start with a simple idea. Learners can't learn language if they don't notice it. Noticing is the first step. Before learners can use a word, before they can read it, before they can write it, they have to hear it. They have to see it and recognize it as something meaningful. And that doesn't usually come from an explanation. It comes from repeated, meaningful exposure in the middle of a lesson. Now, the interesting thing is teachers are doing this all the time, but we don't always recognize it as supporting language learning. We just see it as, well, teaching. So in this video, I want to show you 4 small teacher moves that help learners notice language without adding anything extra to your lesson. Number 1, repeating the key word. This is probably the most natural one. A learner says something and we repeat part of it. Let me give you a few examples. They might say, the plant needs sunlight to grow. Yes, sunlight. Plants need sunlight to grow. Evaporation happens when water gets hot. Yes, evaporation. When water gets hot, it evaporates. What's happening here is really important. We're not correcting, we're not explaining, we're just making one word more noticeable. And that small repetition helps it stand out in the flow of language. Number 2 is emphasizing important words. Sometimes it's not about repeating. It's about how we say something. We naturally stress certain words when we speak. For example, the Amazon is longer than the Nile. Or in maths, the number is greater than this one. This happens because of economic changes. When we stress those words, we are helping learners hear the pattern. They begin to notice things like comparison language, cause and effect, key academic vocabulary. Again, we're not stopping the lesson to explain grammar, we're just making the language more salient. Number 3 would be pausing before key information. This one is often overlooked, but it makes a huge difference. Think about how we speak when something is important. We often slow down and pause. The most important reason is temperature, or what we need to focus on here is the change in population. That pause does 2 things. It gives learners time to process what they've just heard, and it signals that something important is coming next. For EAL or multilingual learners, that processing time is crucial. They're not just thinking about the idea, they're also decoding the language. Number 4, echoing good language. This is something many teachers do instinctively. A learner gives a good example and we repeat it for the class. So for example, student says, plants grow faster with more sunlight. And the teacher says, yes, plants grow faster with more sunlight. Or they might say, the Romans expanded their empire because they wanted more land. And the teacher would say, exactly, they expanded their empire because they wanted more land. What this does is really powerful. It gives the whole class access to a strong model of language, and it gives the original student a sense that their language is worth noticing and repeating. If we step back a moment, None of these are big strategies. They're not worksheets. They're not extra tasks. They're just small shifts in how we respond, how we speak, and how we interact. But they all do the same thing. They make language more visible. They help learners notice the key vocabulary. They help them notice patterns, and they help learners notice useful structures. And that's where language learning begins. Because in many classrooms, we focus so much on helping learners access the content that we forget to support the development of the language needed to access it. And the interesting thing is, we don't necessarily need to do more. We just need to become more aware of the language that's already there. In the next video, I'm going to build on this idea because noticing is just the first step. We also need to make language easier to process, especially when learners are dealing with new concepts and new language at the same time. I'd be really interested to know which of these do you recognise from your own teaching? You might find you're already doing more than you think. If you're interested in how these small classroom moves fit into a bigger picture of language learning, this is something I explore more through the MMM framework. Thanks for watching. Bye.